Congratulations, you have reached the Fountain of Youth. As its guardian spirit, only one person may drink of its waters. Now pray tell me, who may it be?
Oh, is it going to be me?
Me!
Perhaps it might be me that drinks the water. I obviously need it the most.
Only one may drink the water. Now pray tell me, which one of you has decided?
Alright guys, how are we gonna do this? First of all, we've got Foghorn Trumpet here. Well, he wasn't exactly first, but you know how he demands to be the first and best in most of everything. And Foghorn's gonna be representing modern society. You know, how we all want what's new and shiny and latest. He, I think, represents fast fashion and the mindless buyer's consumerism of it all. Next we have good old monarchy mother, Queen Lizzo Betty here, representing anyone with a more normal frame of mind. She's our origin, given that a number of us white mayonnaise looking creatures all descend from the same country of place. If you trace your ancestry steps back far enough. Now, she stands for tradition. Our origins, perhaps even family and consideration for others if you want to go that deep into things, given that's the reason why traditions survive. And lastly, we've got what looks to be a Tumblr gremlin of all things. Or maybe it's a TikTok gremlin these days, given the changing of these times and traditions. Kinda sad really. I missed out on the golden ages of Tumblr and emos and MySpace and all, what with the whole raw feelings and the emotive face paint. Could just be my age showing here, but TikTok doesn't really hit the same, regarding the rawness and realness of our struggles we're all going through at the time. Perhaps the TikTok culture has been a bit too tainted by modern consumerism and the need to stay in trend as well. Regardless though, we've got our gremlins, right? These are the modern new babies of the internet. They are the chaos kings and queens of suffering itself. They don't have their shit together, their lives are a complete and total mess. More than half the time it's not even their fault alone, but they have survived regardless. They are anarchy, they are the rebellion, and they are our future. So we've got 3 different movements here, right? And only one glass of immortality juice from the Fountain of Youth. Only, how are we going to decide on who to give it to? Each of these 3 different factions or ideologies have clashing ideals and values, so how on earth are we fairly going to decide of who gets it? Alright, well, to start off with, Foghorn Trumpet here wants the water because of course he does. He quite enjoys being the one who's large and in charge and doesn't see why that should change. If he drinks the water, he will reign supreme and in power for all the more generations to come. He will be passing trends, fobbing off new things to sell, and he reckons he's the one paving the way for our future because he believes in capitalism. Not to say that the others don't, but capitalism comes first and foremost for him. And part of that means more, new, upgrading. So here stands Foghorn Trumpet and his armies of new stock and upgrades, reaching out with his grabby little hands for that water. So next is the Monarch Mother. Now, interestingly enough, she doesn't intend to drink all the water herself. She's put quite the plan together. And granted, it's probably driven by politics or capitalism in its own right, but let's hear it out, shall we? Alright, now she reckons we need to be figuring out a system. I mean, not we specifically, as in all of us, but more we as in her own people. And there'll be this system figured out, right? And it'll be governed by things like tax brackets, wages, governing status, and societal standing. Basically figuring out your value as a person. And then basing on that, she'll be deciding on how much of the water you'll be allowed to have. Everyone gets a bit of the water, but no one will be getting it all, except perhaps for her. And basically what that'll mean is that her people will become a bit more powerful and well-running. And because everyone will have it in their blood by then, hopefully that means they'll be breeding out more powerful offspring in which they can then go on and explore new countries. They'll be advancing all of civilization, not just the capitalism trends of buying more stuff. An interesting plan indeed. And finally we have the internet gremlins. Now these internet gremlins also don't want to drink it for themselves, and they don't want to necessarily split it up and share it around either. Whether it's the Tumblrites off their own tangents or the TikTokers doing their dances and creating those fabulously intriguing point of view dramatics that I just love to binge watch them, any gremlin on the internet has their own ideals and motives for the fountain of youth water that is quite intricate and separate from all the others. Oh, what is it, you may ask? It's witchcraft. Witchcraft? I hear you snort incredulously. Now, why on earth would it be that? Well, you see, and I'm incredibly sorry to say this, but the internet and Tumblrites and TikTokers don't actually want to live. They've been suffering for a while now, and our world hasn't been especially kind to them. In between the constant having to jump through hoops that keep getting higher and higher every time, to being relentlessly reminded that no, they're not good enough actually, no, they were never good enough to begin with, and no, I just don't believe you have what it takes to ever be good enough, I'm sorry. Because literally everyone else and then some are all reaching for the same one prize. Internet gremlins are tired. They are exhausted and done with it all, and they most definitely do not want to live forever. So they've come up with a plan of your own devices, right? They've decided that they'll use the water to mix in with their own potions and crafts, which will hopefully make them something that for once actually gets them to where they need to be. They've been burnt to a frazzle with their whole lives being stringent on them not screwing up, and all this pressure has simply melted their brains. Because the world's screwed up already as it is, so they've already got quite an unfair disadvantage. So for once they just want to be enough, to be able to get there, to do what needs to be done, and then go home and actually get enough sleep for a night. Just one night. All they want is to get there. Which is really quite sad when you think about it. It's thrown me off the whole tangent I was on actually. So I say we pick someone who has elements of all three of these factions. Now, how are we going to go about this? Alright, me fellas, I've come up with a plan. Right, so as much as we might love or despise individual members of these factions with all our hearts, brains and stirrup boots, they all have both good and bad factorings about them. What? I hear you'll say. Surely this can't be true. But wait, it is. Creating new things and advancing our society isn't all bad. The reason why Foghorn Trumpet gets looked down on so poorly for this is because he does it to excess. He plunders without care or consideration, when you should be making more things because you genuinely care. Monarch Mother Queen Lizzo Betty does right in wanting to build upon and strengthen her people. She does wrong when it's at the expense of everyone else. And the internet gremlins? Well, they just need some love, first and foremost. They are invaluable because of their ability to survive, and their duration under insane amounts of pressure means that they are forced to look at things from new and unique perspectives. They approach problems from a different mindset, which is unfortunately also their downfall because perhaps blood magic and witchcraft is not always the way to go about things. Their levels of desperation means that they will consider anything, which is what also makes them dangerous, because sometimes when a person has already been through too much, they disregard some of our finer nuances of society because, you know, they simply can't afford to have them. So what is the equal medium, shall we say? Who shall we appoint to drink the water? Well, we need someone who creates, because it is genuinely what is right. And we need someone who creates with a passion, with love. They need to be building up their people, like Monarch Mother intends to, but it also needs to be with gentleness and guiding for the internet gremlins among us who have also lost their way. And who might this person be, may I ask? Well, I personally reckon it should be Hayao Miyazaki. The works he creates are amazingly unmatched. They tell stories that I've never been able to copy the style of or have witnessed anywhere else, which means he is a rare species, perhaps even the only of his kind. He creates specifically to lift a person up, to consider both sides of the story, and to challenge the way we may think morally. I love his works for a majority of reasons, but I already feel like I'm going over time here, which means perhaps I'll have to make another video in the future on it. And with the way our last few years have gone, from the horrors of 2018 to the continuity of even today, our famous people and loved ones have been dropping like flies, and I can't even afford to potentially lose the creator of Studio Ghibli himself. He's already getting old in age. So please, for the sake of our humanity and enjoyment of life, let's give the glass of water to Hayao Miyazaki. We can figure out something else in the meantime for all our other problems, but let's just not lose Miyazaki himself.